Roll call, please.
Monterey, Veranda,
Here.
Castroville,
Here.
County of Monterey,
Here.
Delray Oaks,
Here.
Marina Coast,
Here.
Pacific Grove,
Here.
Salinas,
Here.
Sand City,
Here.
Seaside.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. And now could we move on to the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Church, would you oblige us in leading us? Sure. Let's begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Are there any additions to the agenda?
No additions.
Okay, can I entertain approval of the agenda?
Move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Great, we have first, second. Chai?
Do you want to do a roll call vote or just?
Uh,
You can just do a
Well,
voice vote if you would like.
okay, I thought I had to since,
Oh.
okay, no, that's fine.
We don't have
Um,
to, but
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All against? Okay, motion passes. Number 6, public comments. Is there any public comments? Anybody wishing to address the board on matters not appearing on the agenda may do so now.
Good evening, Board. Mike McCullough, Monterey Peninsula Water Management District. I should have made this comment at the budget workshop earlier this month, but I wanted to come back and say it tonight. So the district was just been really supportive of the work that has come with the Monterey Water staff about the setting of the company water rate. We had a number of really productive meetings with the staff, and as we've come to develop Pure Water Monterey expansion, the more volume that we had, it's going to result in a little bit lower water rate for the ratepayers. So that's been really well received. And so we just wanted to say thanks to Monterey One Water board and staff for that company water rate for next year. That's it.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Anybody else online, Chai? Oh, here we go.
Hi, my name is Matt Denacor. I'm from Pacific Grove. And I just wanted to address something that you guys are going to address at your next month meeting, which is a mitigated negative declaration for the Coral Street project. And this is a project moving electrical for a pump, $10 million to separate it from where the pump and the wet well are. And I think this is not a good project because it's $10 million and it leaves the pump in place. The pump is going to need to be moved at some point. And I think the best solution is to move the pump and the wet well and the electrical all together, put it where you already have facility at the wastewater treatment plant, the old wastewater treatment plant in Pacific Grove. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Is there anybody online, Chai?
I don't see any raised hands, but,
Okay.
oh, there's one person here.
Sorry.
No, no.
Raised again. Did I hit my nose? Okay, my name is Debbie Rappa, and I'd like to say something on the Coral Street project. I live across the street, as most people know, and I look out the window a lot. And I heard a rumor today from one of the golfers that they got a call from Monterey One Water that said it's going to be underground, and they already did the sample. Now I live in front of my windows, and I've never seen a sample come out. People come out. I saw the surveyors, but I never saw anybody digging to see how far deep the granite hits before they build. So I don't know if it's online or maybe you guys can direct me, but if it's a rumor, let's get with the facts here. So that's my statement, because it's not a good place. It should be in a cheaper area. Thank you.
Great.
Hi, my name is Jessica Denacor, and I live in Pacific Grove. A few comments in regards to the Coral Street Pump Station electrical relocation project. Pacific Grove residents are urging our city leaders, as well as Monterey One Water, to question the proposed location and scope of the current $10 million Coral Street Pump Station proposal. The current plan relocates only electrical infrastructure while leaving much of the aging system in place. Existing project studies already identify full relocation alternatives costing significantly less, some between 5 million and 7 million. And when you're talking about rate increases that you're talking about in your last meetings, this is half the cost with fuller scope. Comprehensive relocation options, such as the former wastewater treatment plant or even Esplanade Park, could provide stronger, longer-term protection against sea level rise, flooding, and infrastructure failure. This is not opposition to the infrastructure investment. It's really a call for fiscal responsibility and durable long-term solution for Monterey County taxpayers. Many of the concerned residents only became aware of this project upon release of the draft initial study for the Coral Street Pump Station electrical relocation project in October of 2025, at which point comments were submitted in November. It has been 8 months. There has been no feedback to those comments by Monterey One Water, and our understanding from Jennifer Gonzalez is that the project environmental documents will be going to the Recycled Water Committee and the Board of Directors in July for consideration. We urge you to relook at the other options you considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to be less eloquent than previous speakers, but I would like to latch on to what they were talking about and follow on with some comments about the Coral Street project. Last October, some Pacific Grove homeowners heard about this Monterey One Water project for the first time. It involves relocating the electricals building away from its current site. The optimal site, according to the international study, the initial study, well, perhaps it was international, I don't know, but the initial study was dropped without much of an explanation. And it was a surprise for the neighborhood to learn that it was now going to be located on Crest Avenue at the golf course at twice the cost. Since then, some homeowners have voiced comments and objections, but so far we haven't had any reply. I think the board will be asked to approve the initial study in July. We've seen some computer-generated pictures that indicate what it could look like and how it will affect local homeowners and the golf course. And we believe the next step is to go to the design phase and call for bids. Look, we understand it's a really important project. Sea rise is unstoppable. We're not against the project at all. We support it. We also understand that the current funding options are crucial. They're very important, but let's get it right. Please, could you use your expertise and your wisdom to consider all of the options out there, find the best one for local residents and Monterey One Water ratepayers alike? Thank you for listening.
Great, thank you.
Chair, could we get her name
Oh,
for the record?
Ma'am, could we get your name for the record?
So sorry, Jacqueline Harmer.
Jacqueline Hanna. Great, thank you. Okay, is there anybody else for public comments? Please state your name.
My name's Joy Damaris, and I live in Seaside, but from my understanding is that, let me get the names here. The Seaside County Sanitation District sends the water to Monterey One, and they recycle the water, but they don't give us the water back after they recycle it. It's stored in bins underneath the ground with the Monterey Regional, I believe is the name of them. And then it's sent to CalAm. So we're paying them, but not getting anything in return. And then we're paying CalAm to get the water that we already paid to recycle. So I just wanted to, I've said about this for years, so I want to take the opportunity to tell what I've been feeling. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none. We will close public comments. And moving on to item 7A, committee reports.
So the Budget Personnel Committee from June 12th, you have the minutes in your agenda. If there's any questions, we can certainly answer them.
Oh, move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, motion passes. Item B, Recycled Water Committee.
So we had a Recycled Water Committee on June 19th, and the minutes are in your packet as well. Can certainly answer any questions you may have.
Move approval.
Second.
Great. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving on to item 8, public hearings. Just want to make an announcement that Spanish interpretation is available tonight for tonight's hearings and action items. For those in the chambers, please raise your hand and staff will bring you a headset. For those online, please use the interpretation icon in the Zoom control bar to select Spanish. And now I'll take it over. Chai?
Habrá servicio de interpretación al español disponible durante las audiencias públicas y los puntos de acción de la reunión de esta noche. Si se encuentra presente en la sala de juntas y desea escuchar la interpretación en español, por favor levante la mano y un miembro del personal le proporcionará unos audífonos. Si participa de manera virtual por Zoom, haga clic en el botón de interpretación en la barra de controles y seleccione español.
Great. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 8A, public hearing on liens. So welcome to the Monterey One Water public hearing certifying compliance with state law with respect to levying of general and special taxes, assessments, and fees or charges levied as incident of property ownership. The public hearing is now open and staff will present on this item. And I believe
Good evening, Chair Habino and members of the board. I'm Steve Kerrigan, Senior Director of Administrative Services. And it's that time of year when customers that do not keep their charges current, we place a lien on their property. These property owners have not paid their charges for 2 billing cycles or 4 months. They have a delinquent balance at the end of the calendar year. And then beginning in the new year, we've mailed them 3 notices. The government code requires the agency to publish a list of possible liens in the local newspaper, and this year we published in the Herald and the Californian. Financially, property owners are penalized for non-payment, and there is a nominal $30 filing fee associated with the recovery process. While each year there are some hardship cases, approximately 75% of the property owners use the lien process as part of their business model, meaning they intentionally do not pay their sewer charges until they are about to be placed on the tax rolls for collection purposes. And 88% of the property owners will bring their account current in the first year. Now, we do recognize there are hardships, and if a customer does have a hardship, they're encouraged to call customer service at 831-372-2385 and ask for Lindsay Sins to be our customer service supervisor. Finally, this year, we are asking you to consider 2 resolutions. The first is Resolution 2026-02, and this resolution certifies compliance with state law. And the second resolution, 2026-03, declares liens against real property. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, Lindsay Sins to be and I are here to assist. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Okay, with that, thank you. We will now hear from anyone who would wish to speak on this topic.
For the public, right? Thank you. Alex Miller, Monterey One Water customer and Seaside resident. Every year I come here and I'm always discouraged by this list. And I think that we should have a minimum threshold of minimum amounts of $1,000. Because as you see on the list, you have liens for $250, $300. It's gotten better, which is good news. It's gotten better over the years, and the amount that we were leaning for has gotten better, but it really discourages me when we're being so aggressive to the people that we represent, to the people that are elect you guys to your office and then turn around to place a lien on their property for a small amount is really a slap in the face. And I really hope this agency will figure out a way to get rid of this process. And I thought putting on the tax roll was a great idea. And I was supportive of that. And if you put it on the tax roll, there are no liens whatsoever. And it would have saved the agency hundreds of thousands of dollars, including the $400,000 that was spent to advertise putting it on the tax roll. But the year, which was 2 years ago, that it was changed, it was confusing. It was misleading. Some people thought it was on their tax roll. Some people thought it was not. And we still placed liens that year. So we confused everybody and then placed liens on the property last year, and we're doing it again this year. So I really urge this group to have a minimum threshold of $1,000, and the people that owe $250, $300, do we really have to place a lien on their property to get that for that small amount of money? Those are all my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
I want to speak for homeowners. We didn't sign up for this bill. We just all of a sudden started getting it, and it's towards homeowners. And homeowners that has rentals, they have to pay for the rental also, and that may be where the liens are coming, is that the people don't feel that they should pay for the rental property. And like I said earlier, we don't get anything from Monterey One to pay for. So thank you for letting me speak again. Oh, I got it. Just here.
Great. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak? Chai, is there anybody online?
There is one person. We are going to hear from Susan Scavone. Go ahead, Ms. Scavone.
Good evening, thank you. Yeah, I have some concerns about people that don't have a lot of money that owe you to having a lien put on their property. It sounds like some people, if you say they use it as a business practice, they're kind of playing the system and using it as a way to just pay it off at the end of the year. But for people who are struggling, and I know you encourage them to contact you, that may be a whole different story, and I'd hate to see them have a lien on their property, especially senior citizens who are just trying to hang on. I'm just wondering, when I talked to your customer service rep, she had said that they don't do any notices until the beginning of the year about possible liens on property. And is there any way to add a warning on the billing, the monthly billing statement, to make sure people do that and maybe put it in red? If you do not pay your bill, you could get a possible lien on your property. That might help people, to call you sooner and get some help. I don't know if that's something that could be added to the billing, but it does concern me that people who are lower income and struggling could have liens on their property on top of possibly having other dramatic things happening in their lives. So anyway, that was all my comment was, but thank you so much, and I hope that something can be done to just reach out to those people. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on Zoom that'd like to speak? I don't see any other raised hands.
With that, thanks, Chai. Seeing no others who wish to speak, we're going to close this public hearing, public comment period. So we'll move on to, do we have a motion to approve resolution 2026-02, certifying compliance with state law with respect to levying of general special taxes, assessments, and fees, charges levied as an incident of property ownership, and adoption of resolution 2026-03, declaring liens against real property for delinquent sewer user charges?
I'll make the motion.
Can we have a discussion?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Do I have a second? I mean,
The second.
second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do any of the members of the board wish to speak call on staff for any clarification in respect to the proposed rate increases.
Actually, sorry, it's misstated there. It's the proposed lien list.
Yeah,
Thank
You're welcome.
with the proposal.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Just a couple of questions on the hardship information. It's put out. How I know you made mention there, Steve, on numbers to contact. How available is that when somebody has missed the and it's getting close to the period of a lien? Is it included in the mailing that we send out, or do they have to actually come and try to contact us?
So throughout the year, if customers are having hardships, they contact us and we help them with penalties or penalty adjustments and things of that nature. Most of the time at the end of, when we send out the delinquent notices in March, when the customers start calling, we help them in the exact same way. We'll help them with penalties, cancellations, and then.
Sure, but my question is, how available is the information? Is it printed on there that if you're having difficulties or so, you can call this number, or do they just, or they have to say, well, hey, I got a problem. I'm just going to try it and see if I can work it out with them.
Right. No, it doesn't specifically. We just put our numbers on there if they have questions, so they're welcome to call us on but nothing listing as far as that goes now.
Maybe if some people are falling behind and getting to the point of where they might fall under a lien, I think it might be good to have that process to notify them so they have that option. So we don't go to that step, because once it goes to a lien, then there's other costs in, and they need to be available. There needs to be information available as much as possible.
I think we can clearly state that on next year's.
Okay.
The notices that go out, the 3 notices that go out very clearly state, if you have questions or if you have concerns, or if you're a hardship, consider yourself a hardship, please contact us.
Yeah, I
We can do
think, when it gets to those later ones would be good. What is that warning sequence when somebody begins to fall behind?
Yeah, well, I can tell you working backwards, in the new year, the individual notices go out on March 20th, April 24th, and June 17th. So those are the 3 notices.
Could you say it one more time? Just make
Sure, sure. The 3 notices are March 20th, April 24th, and June 17th.
Okay.
Those are
And that's in
working backwards.
addition to the bills that everyone's getting each month.
Correct.
Or every other month.
Every other month. Correct.
Okay. And I know we've had this discussion. It's all the bills are definitely, this is for past. I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. All the bills are definitely going to landlords, aren't there? Or are there some renters that are involved into there?
So during we bill tenants on behalf of the landlord, and they fill out a form allowing us to do that. During the lien process, we send a copy of that bill to the landlord as well.
I just want to make sure 100% of the bills are going to landlords. But I want to make sure I'm not confusing my different agencies around.
If we will, for regular billing, if the landlord chooses to have their tenant receive the bill, the tenant gets the bill.
Okay. And
During the lien process, we provide a statement to the landlord letting them know that their property is subject to lien.
so that's when it comes up. The first time the landlord will know about it is March, correct?
Yes.
That warning?
Yeah, but when the customers ask to have their tenants added to the bill, we do suggest that they call in and check to make sure the bill's being paid. Customers aren't delinquent with us until after the end of the calendar year.
Well,
yeah, so that's kind of
there's no requirement for if a landlord's going to call a renter and ask, in December, hey, are you paying that bill?
No, they are welcome to call us at any.
Okay, all right. So I just want to make sure. So as we go through, the first time the landlord will be notified is the March period. Is that correct? Okay.
The first.
But then the landlord gives 3 notifications.
Yeah, and also going forward in this new year, we'll have a new billing system that is going to be a lot more user friendly. So we would be able to use different messages and things of that nature. The billing system that we have now is extremely antiquated, so we're very limited to what we can do. But going forward, there's going to be all kinds of different things that we'll have the ability to do and reach out in different ways. So that will be a definite benefit going forward.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information.
Absolutely.
Mayor Donahue?
Just two things. So technically, the landlord can have their renters be responsible for this bill.
With a signed form. And the land.
Yes.
That the
owner
landlord
takes-
signs or the renter signs?
The owner has to sign and also their name remains on the bill.
Well, that sounds like good work if you can get it.
They're always.
I'm going to pass the buck, literally. Okay, second question is how much administratively does it cost you to go after $250?
So it's a $30 handling fee if we do the lien. We just send the 3 notices. So, and a lot of the time, the lower.
That's
customers-
a direct cost. How much does it cost the agency per transaction?
You mean as far as?
Your time, overhead time?
Yeah, that.
I mean, are we expending $300 to go get 250?
No.
No.
30.
There's a handling fee that we did years ago and we did a study of our time and the handling fee is what it costs us. It's $30 per customer.
There's that.
Basically for
So
everything.
you're just basically a sunk cost,
Yes.
which I do understand, but if we're pressed for time, then not so sunk.
Yeah.
So
And then
is this idea of a slightly higher threshold sensible?
We
I'm
would-
not saying $1,000, but is it?
I think it's certainly something we can discuss. And this board did that years ago, increasing it to 2 billing cycles. We can certainly look at that again, just from a perspective, not $1,000, but of the almost 3,100 liens here, about 368 are 400 or less. So that means 90% are over $400. So as we have that discussion, maybe at budget personnel, we can consider some of the data to make a decision if you'd like.
Okay, so I mean, we're basically introducing new processes, additional
Yes.
communication, and the board obviously has the latitude to make adjustments as the program. Okay, all right, thank you.
I think I have two. I'm trying to understand that business model. What is the benefit of the business model waiting to the end of the year?
So there's really not, basically 75% of our customers just allow it go to lien every year. They're the same customers. Some of them are landowners and they just choose to just let the property lien. When we lien, it goes directly to the property tax bill. So then they pay it then. So.
But I think the benefit from a business model, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if I own a lot of property and I put it on the tax rolls, instead of a bill to Monterey One Water, I'm paying the county. Could I take that off as a tax?
Yeah, if you don't get.
On my taxes?
Yeah. And then it's one check.
Right. They sit
Yeah.
down one time and
That I can probably calculate what the benefit is.
Yeah.
No, I just want for the wider discussion, it's, like you said, majority of them do it for business practice.
Yes.
And then I want to go to the, what happens if, we were talking about the minimum amount of a lien. If you don't put the lien on it for the 250, it don't make a difference, right? Whatever threshold, when do you ever capture that again? When is it?
sell the property.
When does it, when do you capture that?
It would be at the sale of a property.
Yeah. that's
So it would be again at, a transfer.
Well,
By increasing from, 2 billing cycles to, I'm making this up, 4 billing cycles, it's just putting us out of that revenue for a longer period of time.
Right, that's what I thought.
It's all.
So it'd be-
Because you can't, what I'm saying is, because you can't let it go by. So you're just pushing it off.
Yes.
So either I contact you for 250 or I contact you for 500, 2 of them.
Right.
Right, okay.
So just a quick question. Obviously, in the days when we were getting 0% interest or 0.01% interest on our checking and savings accounts, maybe it's not a big deal if we don't get revenue in a timely manner. But those days are different today. So do you think the penalties and fees cover the losses that we're experiencing from not having customers pay their fees in a timely manner so that we can put it in LAIF or wherever
Yeah.
until we use it?
Yeah, because we bill, our penalties are through the health and safety code.
So they cover those sorts of costs.
But we haven't done a nexus study in a number of years. Like a nexus study to your time. in 2017. So we probably should revisit that moving into the future. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly understand where a business person with a lot of properties might want to do this out of convenience for them, but we would want to make sure that the rest of our ratepayers who pay in a timely manner aren't in some way subsidizing
no, the
that
penalties are
business
definitely-
model. Thank you.
Great. Director Smith?
Yeah, I was just going to recommend that we take the recommended action tonight and possibly have committee kind of vet potential other actions we might take to remediate issues with certain individuals that aren't able to pay on time or whatever the issues are.
I just need one, well, I was just looking for one clarification. With this resolution, will there, down the road, it's not set in stone, we could possibly change, are you saying we can change to 2 to 3 billing cycles instead of one?
Yes, not right now, because this is now
Right.
moving forward, but moving to the future, yes, the board has that option to discuss and modify.
Okay. Right.
Through the chair. Oh.
Go ahead.
Okay. Just one question. So I understand now that there are 3 notices before the liens in March, April, and June. Do we have specific customers who we know aren't paying their bills? And I know that we have programs where we could reach out to those customers or that is automatically going out, that information from Monterey One Water. I believe it is.
Yes. A postcard goes out to all of the customers who can qualify for the customer assistance.
Okay. And does
I
it
keep forgetting. A postcard goes out to all of the customers who can qualify for the customer assistance program, single family homeowners, and then they all get a notification about our assistance program.
Okay, and is there any way of putting any of that in the billing where it goes out more than once?
Oh, we do. We put a note on the bill, and sometimes
Okay.
we also as well put an insert.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just a couple of follow-up. There's 3,000 people on this list, I think you said, Paul. How many customers do we have?
61,000 accounts.
So that's 5%, which seems like a high number. So I'm like, do we have any information after we've put the liens on? How many did it get paid? Right,
Yeah, actually the recovery rate is
88.
remarkably high.
Yes. So when we file the liens in the taxes that are paid in that following year, we receive between 88 and 90% of our money. So it's right away. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, I'm just trying to formulate some steps here. And I'm not sure, 5% seems like a high number for this. I mean, and I don't know with other agencies that do this, if that's typical. Do we have anything that as comparison? I think we should.
I do not. We can certainly look into that,
Okay.
but the 75% that do it yearly as part of their business practices. So that means we're at about 1.75% that are delinquent for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
That to me seems a little more reasonable, but we can look into that.
I just follow up with Director Smith's comments. I think maybe this should be reviewed in a committee. I think maybe the limit too, maybe raising it up would be worthwhile for some consideration. It'd be nice if there was a way, and I don't know, how to deal with this on the business practice, but I'm trying to, you've got that significant amount of money there that people are not paying. That seems to be the bigger concern here for our books. And it would be nice to maybe do some comparisons with other agencies and see if they have similar problems. It's just, it strikes me as kind of unusually high number, but maybe it's not.
Great. Is there anybody else? Okay. With that, we have a first and a second. So,
Question.
oh, I think public comments is,
Yeah, for this.
Chair, the public comment period's been closed. If you wish to reopen it, you could, but you're certainly not required to.
okay. I'm sorry, man. We had that public comment period and it's now closed. So we're gonna move on. Sorry about that. No, ma'am. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our discussion now.
Well, we need a vote,
Yeah,
Chair.
yeah. So we have a motion in a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving on. Just a reminder that the Spanish interpretation is available. So if you're just joining us now, for those in the chambers, please raise your hands. For those online, use the interpretation icon in the Zoom control bar. Chai, can you repeat that, please?
Yes. Habrá servicio de interpretación al español disponible durante las audiencias públicas y los puntos de acción de la reunión de esta noche. Si se encuentra presente en la sala de juntas y desea escuchar la interpretación en español, por favor levante la mano y un miembro del personal le proporcionará unos audífonos. Si participa de manera virtual por Zoom, haga clic en el botón de interpretación en la barra de controles y seleccione español.
Great, thank you, Chai. So now we're going to move on to the our Monterey One Water public hearing on proposed increases to sewer rates. Before opening the public hearing, I would like to ask staff to inform the board of directors as to whether all valid legal objections have been responded to and presented to the board.
Point of order. Point of order. Believe we just approved resolution 2026-02. Don't we have to separately approve 2026-03?
I believe the motion had both resolutions.
It did. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
So to your question, Chair Rubino, all valid legal objections have been responded to, and all objections and responsives have been presented to the board.
Great, thank you. In light of this information, I would like to ask for a motion and a second to adopt a resolution making findings and determinations regarding objections to proposed water sewer rates.
So move.
Yeah, second.
Great, thank you. We would like to look for public comment on this.
Yeah.
I do have someone on Zoom. Can I?
Okay, yep, go ahead.
We are going to hear from Amanda Chafin. Go ahead, please. Amanda? Amanda Chafin, go ahead. We will now hear from Ing Dahmer. Go ahead, Ing.
Thank you. Board, I'm not quite sure what happened, but I guess our erstwhile mayor from Pacific Grove made a motion that included all of the above rather than, I thought there was going to be a public hearing, technically, to hear comments on the rate increase. And instead, it was all included. Somehow that got missed by this member of the public. But Nick is really good on pushing through motions and seconds and getting it out there and rushing through. Well, I absolutely protest the rate increase as a low-income senior, and the fact that everything, Shudo gives a great thing of, by golly, by gee, let's just raise it, raise it, raise it. We need it for infrastructure. We need it for this. Well, yes, certainly every other agency does too. And you know what? Some of us, you're just bleeding us dry. Us little old seniors that own our homes are not selling our homes because you need more money. Somehow we'll get by, but you know what? You're making it more and more and more difficult. And the fact that this just kind of went through zippity doo-dah rankles with me incredibly. Thank you very much.
Chair Rapino, with that confusion, can we ask our counsel just to clarify what just occurred with that previous motion versus the public hearing?
Yeah, just a clarification, the motion is just to approve resolution 2026-04. This just makes the findings on the legal objections and responses which were included in the packet. If this motion passes, then we will move to the formal majority protests hearing on the sewer rates themselves, and there'll be a second opportunity for members of the public to address those issues at that time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that, Josh.
So the public comments we're requesting at this point is for the legal objections only. And we'll
that's
get to
correct.
the public comment on Prop 218 afterwards.
That's exactly right.
Just
So
for everyone's-
just public comments on resolution 2026-04, which are the legal objections to the rates and the M1W's responses.
Great. Thank you for that, Josh. I was a little confused myself, and yes, this is just for the legal objections. So public comment on the legal objections.
Legal objection. Is it voting to
I'll let our counselor explain.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So this item is a two-step process. So when we provided a notice of this proposed sewer rate adjustment, it also included the opportunity for members of the public to one, protest the rates, which we'll deal with in a second, but in addition, to raise any legal objections they had to the rate structure itself. This provided us with an opportunity to review those potential legal objections, determine whether they have merit, and provide responses. This is related to recent legislation, which helps ensure that legal issues or potential legal issues with rates are raised before they're approved to help reduce the type and amount of litigation. So the item that we're dealing with right now is just that first piece. It's just having the board having an opportunity to review the legal objections that were received, the responses that were provided by staff, and to acknowledge those by resolution. If that resolution passes, then we'll move on to the protest hearing on the rates themselves.
Great. Thank you for that explanation. So with that, we did receive a motion and a second, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to, all in favor, let's vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, great.
Third option, abstain.
Okay.
One abstention.
The resolution determining no changes to the proposed rates are necessary and to proceed with the public hearing as passed. Before I open the public hearing, I would like to ask our legal counsel to explain the requirements of Proposition 218 governing this public hearing and the proposed rate adoption.
Thank you, Chair. This public hearing was set in compliance with Proposition 218. M1W mailed a notice of this public hearing to the record property owners subject to the imposition of the proposed sewer rates and tenants directly liable for the payment of the rates. The date and time of this public hearing is not less than 45 days after M1W mailed the notices. The purpose of the public hearing is for the Board of Directors to hear all oral testimony and consider all written protests concerning the proposed rate increases. It is also held to determine whether there is a majority protest to the proposed rates and whether to proceed with the adoption of the proposed rates. Property owners and tenants may submit a written protest up till the close of the public hearing. Property owners and tenants are not required to provide oral testimony at today's hearing. If you wish, you may simply submit a written protest directly to the board secretary indicating your opposition to the proposed rate increases. However, oral testimony does not count as a protest. So if you want your protest to be counted, you must submit a written protest prior to the close of the public hearing this evening. The public hearing will be closed after the Board of Directors has heard and considered all oral testimony on these items. In order to be counted, protests must be in writing, state that you are protesting the proposed sewer rate increases, include the name of the property owner or tenant, the assessor's parcel number or service address, and signature of the person submitting the written protests. Any protests submitted by email or other electronic means will not be accepted as a formal written protest. All valid protests submitted to Monterey One Water by mail or hand delivered prior to today's public hearing and received by the Secretary since the notice of public hearing was mailed will be counted. If written protests against the proposed rate increases are presented by the owners or tenants of a majority of the identified parcels upon which the proposed sewer rates are to be imposed, the Board of Directors may not impose the rate increases. If there is no majority protests, the Board of Directors may impose the rate increases. Pursuant to state law governing Proposition 218, in determining whether a majority protest exists, only one written protest per parcel will be counted.
Great, thank you. The public hearing is now open. At this time, I would like to ask staff to describe the order of proceedings.
Thank you, Chair Urbino. So the public hearing will be conducted in the following manner. Staff will first provide a report relating to the proposed sewer rates. After the presentation, the Board of Directors will call upon any person wishing to speak on this item here in chamber or on Zoom. If you concur, Chair, every person will be given 3 minutes maximum to speak. So we ask to keep the comments brief and to the point so that everyone will be allowed a chance to speak. Chai will have the timer on as we've had so far to keep track of the time, and you'll be notified when you've reached the maximum allowable time. After oral testimony has been heard, the Board of Directors will close the public hearing, and if needed, have a short recess to determine if a majority protest to those proposed rate increases have been received. Only those written protests submitted prior to the close of the public hearing will be counted. If a previous speaker has already addressed the items you were going to speak on, you are not required to state them as well and have the opportunity to waive your right to speak. To facilitate the discussion, any questions from the speakers will not be answered during the public hearing. If necessary, staff will address questions after the close of the public hearing, or we are always available. So we will now provide a brief presentation on the rate structure and rates, if that's okay.
Great. Who, you're going to give that? Okay, great. Thanks, Paul.
So I know the board has certainly seen all of this in the past 3-4 months, probably more times than you care to imagine. So I definitely want to go over some of the timeline for everyone here in the audience. As you can see, you awarded a contract to Willdan to do a rate study back in September. Chris Fisher with Willdan is here with us if any questions come up about the rate study or rate structure. In February 23rd, you voted to keep the rate structure the same as it has been. We are certainly looking into other options and trying to gather data on how that can be accomplished, but that is not part of this action. April 15th, you accepted the rate study itself and the process for the proposed increases. And then on May 6th, we started mailing all the notices for the Prop 218 that we are talking about today, which is a 5-year Prop 218 with stated rate increases. And then the last part of this process is today, this public hearing, where you will hear from the public. We will report out on the number of protests that we have received to date, and then you can deliberate and make a decision. Next slide, please. So once again, you've seen this before, but just in general, we identify the financial needs for the agency. As you well know, operations and maintenance of the extensive infrastructure, certainly infrastructure reinvestment. A lot of what we have has been around for 30, 40 years. And then increasing regulatory requirements drive our costs. Those were all provided to Willdan for an independent rate study, and a cost of service analysis was completed. We generally look at a 10-year financial plan just to make sure over that time frame that we can continue to fund the level of service that you have stated we do. And then lastly, the revenue recommendations come out. So what's the revenue requirement to get the work done? And then Willdan also looked at the proportional cost recovery among different customer classes, residential versus business, and all the different types of businesses. This was all part of a public review process, and now we are before you. Next slide, please. So, we had the good fortune, obviously, to say it during the board meetings. We also had 3 public information sessions in Salinas, Seaside, and Marina. But why are rates changes needed at this point in time? A lot of it, what we've talked about, is aging infrastructure. We have about $1 billion, probably a little more, of infrastructure in the ground and above ground that we manage, operate, and maintain. Over time in a marine environment, wastewater environment, highly aggressive. Engineering department, Matt Thompson, his group, need to invest in our systems. At this point, we have about a 10-year capital improvement plan of $540 million. So these rates go to support that over the time frame. Obviously, as with all of us, costs are increasing. Electricity, chemicals, other materials, construction, etc. And then regulations and compliance. With every new law, there's new testing, new requirements, new monitoring. Those are all within our budget. And then lastly, sort of tied to the aging infrastructure, we're trying to continue to invest in the infrastructure at a prudent level so we don't have failures, that we don't have spills and things cost more in the long run. Next slide, please. So the proposed rates. What we are asking is to support everything I just mentioned is a 5-year Prop 218, so we can have effective financial planning with some understanding over the next 5 years. And for this year, just to take residences in as an example, a typical residence is $54 per month. We're proposing to go to $57.27 per month for fiscal year 26 to 27. Future years, the upper end that we are requesting is an 8% increase on overall revenue. And you see 8% in 28, 9% in 29 and 30. Now, this part of the process is establishing the upper limits of what future boards could increase rates. So let's say we come around here next year, this time, if we've either received, let's say, a ton of grant money or there's something happening with the economy, it's up to this board on whether you approve an 8% rate increase or 0 or anything in between. Every year, as we do a 1-year budget, it is your decision on what those ultimate rate increases will be. Next slide, please. So just to touch on Proposition 218, and certainly Josh went into it in some detail there. We look at our cost of service, which is all the numbers that we provided Chris and Willdan. We provide the notifications to all of our customers. In addition, this board requested that we do some public information sessions, which we have done, as well as bill inserts, going to the weekly, and a number of other outreach points. And then today is the public hearing, which is a culmination of this process, which has been going on for 5 months. So this gets to the public outreach I was referencing. We've heard you loud and clear is you want to make sure we get the information out there as best as we can, certainly while trying to be prudent with the agency's dollars in reaching out. So this is just a summary of everything that went out. The wastewater bill inserts, you see the big numbers are the Prop 218 notice, and certainly postcards mailed to paperless customers. So there's been multiple touch points, both hard copies, electronic, etc. We try to also do it in both English and Spanish. And we try to focus on meaningful public outreach, trying to at least get direct communication to as many customers as we possibly can. With that is a certain amount of education to understand what wastewater rates go towards and the protection of health, environment, and this entire region. As a basis for that outreach, I think Rachel and her team, we have hired some assistance from a consultant to broaden that discussion and how we get out there. But I think we've been fairly aggressive in terms of outreach from a Prop 218 perspective. Next slide, please. So as of 4:30 today, we had a total of 79 protests. Those protests were distributed amongst our service area, and we can certainly report on where they came from, but they represent about 0.14% of our total customer accounts. Right down there, you can read what it takes for it to be valid, the protest, and that was noted on all of our mailings as well. I can certainly pause on this slide if you want to take a greater look at it or not. So the staff recommendation is that the board of directors, if there's not a majority protest, adopt resolution number 2026-05, adopting maximum sewer service user fees effective July 1, 2026, making certain CEQA findings and taking other actions related thereto.
Great, thank you, Paul. Chai, do we know how many online the number online we have with raised hands?
Can you please, if you're on Zoom and you would like to speak, could you please raise your Zoom hand? I'm currently showing 2, but are there any other members of the public on Zoom that would like to speak on this item?
Okay, with that, if you'd like to go ahead and call on people and just know that it's going to be 3 minutes per person in terms of their comments.
Thank you. We will now hear from Amanda. Go ahead, Amanda.
Okay. My name is Amanda Chapman. I am a single person living on a pension, the solo occupant in a small 1-bathroom house. My water use fluctuates from 3 CCF to 2 CCF or less each month. My average sewer cost for flushing the toilet in the last year and a half has been $97.45 a month. That includes the help that I am given for being low income. In other words, I'm getting a break, and that's how much I'm paying. I may be full of it, but I'm not that full of it. How much per bathroom are wealthier people who live in large houses with 2 or 3 or more bathrooms and multiple occupants paying to flush? I pay that outrageous price because I have to pay Baranda Sewer District, Salinas City District, and Monterey 1 water fees. I noticed on something that I got that some entities are paying for actual use of water. Why not households? Thank you.
We will now hear from Susan Scavone. Go ahead, Ms. Cavoni.
Thank you. It looks like this is going to pass, and I can't say I support it because it's money going out, but I understand. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to consider it on a yearly basis so that if you do have years where you get grants or can afford to make it less percentage-wise that year, I hope you will compassionately consider that. And given the situation in Washington, I think that's going to be a difficult road for a while. Also, I just want to say I'm concerned about seniors such as Amanda on fixed incomes. They've worked during the last 50 years when wages weren't high. Therefore, pensions and Social Security aren't high. Seaside still has a majority of households lower income. Per capita income is under $35,000. There are so many increases. Medical insurance is up. Medicare Part B went up. Supplemental insurance and drug costs up 30%. High groceries, high gas, and CalAm is now seeking 24% increase in our water bills. So I'm concerned about older people living on fixed incomes, barely surviving. And like her, if there's just two people who are older in a household paying the same amount as the people next door who have 8 people in their house, there just seems to be a systemic problem here. I don't know if there'll ever be a day when you can meter wastewater. It sounds like a hard thing to do systemically, but I hope that if you have a lobbyist group that's lobbying in Sacramento, that you can add that to your list of ways to make it more fair for households that have less people and produce less wastewater to possibly pay a little less, because in effect, they're subsidizing those people that have a lot of people and are using a lot more water. Okay, thank you.
We will now hear from Ing Domer. Go ahead.
Thank you, Susan Chavone, for actually doing it nicer than I would. But the thing is, low-income seniors who own their homes and are going to die in their homes need a break. We do not create the waste that Green Waste in Pacific Grove charges every household to, which doesn't give seniors a break or any low income. And yes, Monterey One Water does give a slight break for 2 months of a lower rate for their low income application and program. However, Pacific Grove has added on so many others, taxes and utilities and whatever, onto our sewer bill, and I'm sure they want to raise it again too, that our bill is twice as much as the normal bill would be in Pacific Grove. So that little break that I get for 2 billing cycles out of the year really doesn't amount to a whole lot. Believe me, I'll take anything I can get. But we are struggling. And whether it's garbage rates or whether it's sewage rates, we're in dire straits trouble here. And you've got to listen. I'm sorry that they don't have a voice as big as mine is, but I will say it. You've got to listen to us. Do you really care? Thank you very much.
Great. So that ends our online. So if there's anybody in the room that would like to come up and speak, please state your name, and please know that you have 3 minutes to speak.
Eileen Hu. Good evening, members of the board. I do have to commend you for your notification process of rate increases. You are much more transparent than the garbage people. However, I do have some comments. I'm talking specifically about residential rates. Homes apartments, and condos all pay the same rate per unit. That means somebody in a small studio apartment that has one bathroom and no laundry has to pay the same per unit rate as somebody in $1 million home with 2 or 3 bathrooms and laundry facilities. The person that's living in that studio apartment may be minimum wage earner. That is really unfair, and I've heard other people talk about that. I actually mentioned this several years ago in one of your outreach meetings at the Marina Library, but I don't know what happens to that information that we give in these outreach meetings. It just seemed to be buried. So I wanted to bring it up at the board. I believe there can be a solution to this inequity. One is maybe you can base the sewage rates on the number of toilets in a residential unit. If somebody has 3 toilets, maybe they should pay a little bit more. The other thing is in Los Angeles, wastewater rates are based on water usage. I don't know how that's going to be done in Monterey County, but that has been done in other places. So those are 2 possibilities. I hope people will really look into this, because people that are one person using 1 toilet should not have to pay as much as 10 people using 4 toilets. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm still Alex Miller, and I just am opposed again to these rates increases. As one of the speakers said on the Zoom, Susan said the city of Seaside does have a lower income population, and we struggle. We struggle to pay the bills. And the city has not been given any relief from this agency whatsoever. In fact, if you look at the lien list, you'll see a significant number of Seaside residents there. If 75% of the lien holders are doing this for a business strategy, which is far-fetched, but if they are truly, then why not just allow them to do it? If that's what they want to do, then allow them to do it. But you've heard the argument that it doesn't matter what size house you have, if you have a huge house or a small house. You've heard the argument of lower income families in our district, in our area, in our region. This is one of the most expensive places to live, maybe in the United States, maybe in the world. And even though it looks like it's a small increase, it's compiling every year. And it's continued to go that way. And it's been that way for a long time, that we're raising it every year for 4 years, 8%, 8%, 9%, 9%. When is that going to end? When we're like tapped out, we're at the maximum. I mean, people can't afford it. And all we're going to start doing is adding more people to the lien list and then placing liens on their property. So I'd really encourage this board to take a closer look at the 8% and be more realistic with that, and hopefully explore options that makes it more equal between big landowners, big property owners, and small property owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
I guess this is my time to speak without being a landlord. I don't understand why the homeowner is responsible for paying for the tenant's usage of the water. Oh, sorry. I don't understand why the homeowner is responsible for paying for the rentals part of the water bill. We have to, it was said that we are billed and then we're supposed to get it from the tenant. Why isn't the tenant billed for their usage? So I guess that's my question.
Anybody else in the room would like to speak? Okay. We're good online. Okay. Seeing no others would wish to speak, I'm prepared to close the public hearing. Before I do that, I would like to provide anyone who would like to submit or withdraw a written protest the opportunity to do so. Once a public hearing is closed, the Board of Directors may no longer accept any written protests on the proposed rate increases. Are there any remaining written protests to be delivered to the Secretary? Okay. The public hearing is now closed. So with that, there is no recess to be needed in terms of tabulation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Um, So the board, based on the number of written protests submitted prior to the close of the public hearing, majority protest does not exist for the adoption of the proposed rates for sewer service. The board of directors may now proceed to consider the proposed resolution to adopt the increases to the sewer rates. Do any members of the board of directors wish to speak or call on staff for any clarification with respect to the proposed rate increases?
Through the chair,
Direct-
Chair Habib, I'm sorry. Can I read the number of written protests received?
Okay,
Sure.
go
So,
ahead, Chai.
prior to the close of the public hearing, we received a total of 83 written protest letters regarding the rates for the sewer service charges. A majority of the owners identified parcels or tenants directly liable for such charges, i.e. the number required to constitute a majority protest would equal 28,600. A majority protest does not exist to the proposed sewer rates.
Okay, with that, we'd like to open it up to the board. Director Donaldson?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So Paul, you listed up there the percentage of protests. I believe it was 0.7%.
Yeah, it was 0.14, but that probably popped up a little bit. So.
Okay. Can you give us, just for comparison's sake, what previous protests, as we were looking at increase in rates, what that looked like compared to this time around?
Certainly. So let me do the last two, if that's okay. In 2020, we had a 1-year Prop 218, and during that one, we had 216 protests. Following year, 2021, we did a 5-year Prop 218, and that one we had 1,267 protests.
And what was the total number this time?
83.
83. Okay. And Chair, I know that during some of the public comments, the idea of inequity and lower income residents was brought up. I know we have that item that we're going to be looking at after this. Is there any way, though, Paul, you could just talk to that real quickly?
Certainly, if that's okay.
Yep.
So some of the comments I heard were rate structure, the low income, customer assistance program, as well as a low use, having one person in a house versus 10 next door. And in our public information sessions, that was most of the questions. It wasn't on the rate increase as much. There were those questions, but much of it was on the rate structure. So I believe you mentioned, can we do it on the number of toilets? We had actually had that discussion during the rate study. I'm used to using fixture counts, so number of toilets, sinks, and so on. However, you can't use that to establish rates. What you can do is use that to establish capacity fees. So if someone were to build a new home, what they do to pay into the system. So to that extent, with the number of questions we received on the rate structure, we will absolutely look into how could we possibly change it? What can we bring to the board in future years that may be more equitable? Because I absolutely understand if you have a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house sitting next to a 10-bedroom, 10-bath house, they're both paying the same. That is considered, in my opinion, inequitable, let alone how many people are in the homes. So we will look into it. The difficulty, as you mentioned, is getting that water meter data. particularly in the wintertime. So we're going to look at November, December, January. So when there's effectively no outdoor irrigation, we know what you're using in house, and then set a rate based on that. We have so many water companies in our service area, some that probably are not metered, as we know. So we need to work at how do we get that data? You were absolutely right. Metering just pure wastewater flows is prohibitively expensive out of everyone's homes. It would be a significant project. Using water usage would be a more reasonable approach, in my opinion. So that's one thing that we are going to be working on because we heard it so much from people that it's concerning. Next thing is a number of the people mentioned, as you said, the low income. So in a couple items to here, we are bringing before you a revised customer assistance program. So as one of the callers mentioned, it's actually not 2 months, it's 2 billing cycles that the current one has. We offer 2 billing cycles, which is 4 months. It is on Monterey One's portion of the bill. I do know that the city of Monterey also offers a similar customer assistance program for their portion of the bill. I believe Salinas is working on one as well. But what we're asking this time is to increase the dollar amount that you allocate to that program so we can hopefully help more people. Last year, we actually exceeded the amount that was budgeted, so we had to turn some people away. And then lastly, there's another item here on low usage variance. For those people, the one person in a house or that uses very little water, they can pay a one-time administrative fee of $50, I think is proposed. Show us those months of water bills in the wintertime. If they qualify, they could get a 15% reduction in their monthly bill. The $50 administrative fee is actually good for 5 years, but they need to each year show us the 3 months in the wintertime to qualify. So we're trying to address the concerns that we've heard without redoing our entire structure because we can't do it that quickly. We need a lot more data and, frankly, coordination and cooperation from some of the water purveyors in the area. So I hope that sort of answers where you were thinking and some of the questions that came up.
I appreciate that. And like I said before, I know we have two dedicated items towards that, the low income and the low usage. And I would just encourage those who made those comments online and those of you that are here, please stick around for those 2 items when we do get to them. I know the board would appreciate your comments and your ideas during that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Anybody else would like to make? Mayor?
I'm going to stay consistent with my previous vote of no, but I want to explain what I understand. Salinas understands the need to update the infrastructure. And the conversations we just had were we completely understand the issue. The issue for Salinas at the moment is simply timing, because as we've been taking a look at our anticipated growth needs, the needs of our major industry, and really hearing the concerns folks have about rate structures, as we finish our study, we're a couple months out. We appreciate the need that this agency has and wants to be within their fiscal year parameters. Likewise, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Group, they're moving now with 3 recommendations because they're mindful of 2040. So, we're sharing, the same water consultant Corallo, and just that report as it comes to us and as we look at it, it simply says that, Salinas is emerging in terms of it really it owes its residents a solid look of what are our options. We presume we'll be collaborative. We're not looking to do anything that impacts negatively the over, as we all know, water is complicated, but our needs are, as they come forward, we just feel we need, you know, a couple more months. So in that spirit, it was a no, and will be a no tonight, not because we don't think this is, the infrastructure shouldn't be updated, and we certainly understand, just the timing for us at the moment is a respectful no. So when I cast my vote tonight, I just want my colleagues to know why I will be doing that.
Great. Is there any other comments? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think it's all about the infrastructure at the plant, and just the huge deficits that we have at the plant that need to be taken care of. And there's really no other way to do it. And the costs are rising for everybody. So they're right. While I definitely feel for the public and folks that are having a hard time with the bills, I definitely understand that. And I'm sympathetic towards it, but we have to do this. We have to at least entertain rate increases so that we can try to address these infrastructure deficits that we have and keep the plant running properly and effectively and efficiently. So I think I'm really pleased to see the other items on the agenda that deal with low income and other exceptions that might appear out there, to take care of those folks. But I also like the idea of looking at the usage. I do think that is a fertile ground, so that if you're not using as much water as others, then you would pay less. I think that's important. But for tonight's action, I'm supporting the increases so that we can be in a position to address infrastructure at the plant. That's as someone who's been out and looked at various parts of the plant, it's amazing what the staff's been able to do to keep things running. When there's a will, there's a way, but I think we need to also give them the tools they need for success. Thank you.
Great. Director Moore?
Yeah, as you know from some of my prior concerns, I was particularly concerned about the 9% in the out years. One of the challenges we face is, number one, even our staff can't predict the future of tariffs or non-tariffs, where costs of raw materials that go into the various goods and pieces of hardware and steel and plastic that we put into and on the ground. But it's also very difficult. I don't see many civil engineers sitting on this board, so a little tough for us to, necessarily second guess our engineering staff and our director of engineering. Certainly would not suggest we try to do that. But I do think I could certainly support 8% across the board for all those years, and give staff a stretch goal in those out years, knowing that if things got super expensive for some reason, we could, again, repeat a shorter term Prop 218 process. But I'd just like to see us press staff on getting more grant money and so forth. And I get that we could be lower. We don't know. Anyway, that's just my comments.
Yeah, I go. I know I'm fairly new, but I've been keeping up with it, and I definitely read the packet and spoke to our council member. And so I would just start off with I definitely sitting here could support across the board 8. It was said earlier where it was kind of like insinuating that the 8, and 9 was automatic. And I don't think it was automatic. It's if you guys need up to 8 or 9, well, you can just cap it at 8. If you change it to 9, you change it to 9. But that is something that we could do. And then it's only at, 9 because you talk about doing projects. right? So if you reduce some of those projects, you don't need 9. You can stay within 8, but that's for your call, down the line. And then someone talked about water and water usage, which is, I definitely support. I think we should think about doing the water usage, but that's pretty difficult and pretty hard. But I think we should do the hard work. But what I came up with is sometimes people use water that don't go through the sewer system, like gardening, right? So it's not as simple as it may seem, but that's better than just basing it on the unit. And I do think, I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I do think you guys should adjust that. I definitely understand that the infrastructure needs fixing, so I'm supportive. I think you guys did the work. I think you didn't get here easily, and so and I understand those that have other opinions, but I think we're all dealing with infrastructure issues, and what we don't want to do is have a plan that we can't pay for upkeep. And I think leaving here, we just need to be clear is these 8% are up to 9% are up to whatever. If we change it, they're up to, they're not guaranteed. And I think some people are trying to paint it as it's a guarantee. And I think it was even a caller on the phone that assumed it was all automatically voted on already. If we vote tonight, you automatically establish the other 1-8 and the 2-9. And I just want to be clear, through the record that that's not what you guys are doing, right? We may understand that, but we don't want to do that. So I will be in support. Like I said, I think the work is done, and I do appreciate that last program, even though I didn't catch the name of it, about how that person can get that 15%. I think it should be a little bit more clear direction and a little bit more support with resources about how to get that information out to those older adults at home, particularly living by themselves and just struggling until we can fix the usage issue, right? But how do we get that program out to them and get an automatic? I guess after they save $50, then it's a savings after that, right? So those are my comments. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment?
Yeah, I would just like to say that, it's very frustrating, the increase in cost and the inflation that we deal with, not only on a personal basis. I mean, everybody's paying more for groceries, gas, services, but it also impacts the jurisdictions that we represent. I know with my fellow mayors, we're dealing with a lot of increased expenses and a lot of flat revenue that, we got to fill that gap. And a lot of times what happens with infrastructure in a city, potholes don't get addressed, maintenance gets deferred, cleanup around the city, for example, doesn't happen. But in this case, if there are issues with our infrastructure in Monterey One Water, the results can be devastating. If we have a spill out in the marine sanctuary because we didn't address infrastructure that we know right now is aging and it's barely hanging in there or will not be able to hang in there years down the road, we have an obligation. And I know it's very, very difficult when you look at rate increases. I don't like them. Nobody likes them. But in this case, it is so important to this organization. And that's why I'm supportive of what we need to do here.
Chair, can I just make one final comment? And I appreciate both mayors' comments. I want to be very, very clear. I respect, and Salinas respects the work that's being done, the need for infrastructure. And when I talk about timing, I wasn't, hey, somewhere way out there. We just want to take a kind of a final look near term because we're all setting policy for 10, 20 years out. If this might be a 5-year discussion, but with infrastructure, we have to think long term. And so we simply want to explore, particularly mindful of the other agencies that we're also involved with. Does that create some new financing options? Does it bring in the private sector in a different, more cohesive way? And so, I want to be really, really clear. I respect the work that's been done here. I'm supportive of it. The timing was not meant to be indefinite, but it just didn't quite coincide with this timing, and that's all we're saying. So I want to be very, very clear of my regard for the work, and that's just kind of where we're coming from. And then my comments or vote is simply made in a respectful manner, knowing how important this is. And I appreciate the point you make, and I think that's also a particularly compelling one where we live. So.
One more comment.
Go ahead, Mary.
So I just want to comment that we here are here representing you all, us, the board of directors, and we're representing, we do have to look at the aging infrastructure. And yes, I agree with everything that was said. Even us here personally, as we sit here on the board, we are all impacted with rising costs. We are here for the health and safety of everyone, the environment, and we also here as directors, we have to, if there is a spill or a pipe breaks, it's going to actually end up costing the agency even more money because we get penalized from not from the state. We get penalized, so we may pay millions of dollars in fines and penalties where we could be putting that, we're trying to ward that off and put those monies into fixing our infrastructure so that we don't have that cost, so that we could put those monies into keeping the environment, public health and safety of all customers. And it is hard choices to raise rates, but we do have to look out overall, sitting here as directors on this board for the agency. And sewer is, believe it or not, is like number one. If there's sewer, it's like even more than public safety, than police. This here is a big, could cause many health risks. So, and we do want to make sure that everything is running correctly with the infrastructure, and that it's running. If it wasn't, we'd be really in trouble. So I just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Director Smith?
Yeah, at this time I will move approval of resolution number 2026-05.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, but did we have anything else we needed to look at? Not only that resolution, was there more parts to that motion?
There were parts before.
Right?
No, we already approved 04, so the motion's just 05. Thank you.
You second?
Yes.
Okay. I just want, before we move on, I just wanted to make a quick comment, and I appreciate all the public comment online and in person. This is maybe my third time chairing a meeting, and my first public hearing. So, but I feel like I was very hesitant in terms of the rising rates, the way they stood right now. But I think we are moving in the right direction with the low use variance and our financial plan that we have for those in need. So with that, I would like to vote on this. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Two noes.
Yes. Okay. Chai?
Motion carries 7-2.
Great. Let's move on. Okay, so, Paul, could we move on to, number 9?
Yeah, the action items.
Sure. Okay, number 9A, consider adoption of resolution number 2026-06, set rates for sewer service user fees for fiscal year 2026-27, effective July 1, 2026, and adoption of resolution 2026-07, approving the proposal fiscal year 2026-2027 operating and capital budget.
Good evening, Chair Abino, members of the board. I'm Steve Kerrigan, Senior Director of Administrative Services. Staff and I are here to present the fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget for your consideration. By way of history, the proposed budget was reviewed by the Budget and Personnel Committee on February 6th and May 8th. The budget was also presented to the Board of Directors on April 27th and once again at the annual budget workshop on May 21st. For people that are watching, may not know, the budgeting, for budgeting purposes, Monterey One Water operates on a fiscal year that runs from July 1st to June 30th. And the budget is used as a planning and management tool and is balanced with total expenditures of $151.5 million. Finally, I'm very happy to report that projected revenues, reserves, grants, and financing sources are sufficient to fund all operating capital and debt service expenditures across all Monterey One Water funds. And right before we go to this slide, I do want to take a minute. Paul asked me to step in and give a hand around March 1st with the finance department. And typically we get this process started around late September, early October. This year we got a late start, and so it was a Herculean effort on the behalf of the executive officer, the directors, staff, the finance department, but particularly the woman standing at the podium here, Johanna Vargas. Amazing, just everybody's effort. I have next year's schedule right here, and it starts on October 14th. So we're going to get a little bit of a head start next year, but is this year's budget perfect? Nope. Is it good? I would describe it as very good, but I'm really looking forward to coming back this time next year and giving the presentation, having a little more time behind the wheel. So I will take the first slide, and under budget assumptions, we have expenses and revenues, and expenses are based on continued investment in critical infrastructure, a 3% CPI-based increase per our existing employee memos of understanding agreements. In the workforce, we're requesting one new position in the finance department. It's an accountant position, and one reclassification in the customer service department. And that's taking a limited term employee and making them a full-time employee. And having managed the customer service department last year, I can tell you we have the right person in line for that full-time position. And finally, the last one under expenses, anticipated increases in benefits and rising operating costs are driven by inflation, utilities, and the cost of treatment chemicals. Revenues are based on approval of the wastewater rate increase of 8%, so thank you very much for that, and WIFIA loan financing. With that, I will pass the ball to Johanna. You could take us.
Good evening, members of the board. Johanna Vargas, and the Grants and Procurements Manager. Before getting into details about the budget, I wanted to explain briefly how our budget works. Monterey One Water has 6 enterprise funds. We have the wastewater fund, the energy fund, the recycled water non-portable, which includes the items supporting Monterey County Water Resources Agency, and the recycled water portable fund for Pure Water Monterey. Each of these funds operates separately, where the revenues generated for that service are used to support the expenses associated with providing that service specifically. The structure helps ensure transparency and allows us to clearly track financial performance of each program while ensuring that one fund does not subsidize the other. Next slide, please. For the wastewater fund, budget for fiscal year 26-27, the total wastewater budget is just over $109 million. On the spend side, we have about $25.6 million dedicated to salaries and benefits, reflecting the staff needing to operate and maintain the system. Operating expenses total approximately 33.5 and cover items such as utilities, treatment chemicals, maintenance, and other day-to-day costs. On the revenue side, the majority of the revenue comes from our wastewater user fees, approximately 86.4 million, and the remainder comes from other revenues as grants and loans proceeds to fully fund the program at 109 million. Next slide, please. This fiscal year, we have several major capital improvement projects planned for the year. Overall, the capital budget, it's about 52 million, which includes 40.7 for wastewater and 12 million for the energy fund. Next slide, please. The energy fund. This fund, the total budget is 12.6 million for this year. The majority of the expenditures for this fund are for the capital improvement project at around 12 million. The funding for this fund comes primarily from a 9.5 million transfer from the wastewater fund into the energy fund and 3.1 million from the Wi-Fi loan financing. Next slide, please. The recycled water non-portable, the budget for this fund, it's 8.5 million. The programs included with this fund includes the Salinas Valley Reclamation Project, the Castroville Seawater Intrusion Project, and the Salinas River Diversion Facility. The budgets primarily support personnel, operating costs, and the routine capital needs necessary to maintain the system. These programs are fully funded through the agreement with the Monterey County Water Resources Agency. Next slide, please. The recycled water potable. This funds the Pure Water Monterey program. The budget, it's 21.1 million. The operating expenses represent the largest portions for this budget as we continue advancing and supporting the Pure Water Monterey program operations. The budget also includes the debt service associated with the project's financing, the SRF loan and the Wi-Fi loan, which we start, the first payment comes due next June of 2027. The revenue for this program comes from the sale of water to Monterey Peninsula Water Management District and Marina Coast Water District. Next slide, please. The recycled water portable for next year includes a 3.2 million capital investment project for the switch gear replacement project. Next slide, please. The total budget for the fiscal year 26-27 across all funds is 151.5 million. And the revenues total 151.5 million. This is a balanced budget. Together, this budget reflects our commitment to maintaining reliable operations and investing in critical infrastructures. Next slide, please.
Two more slides. In addition to adoption of fiscal year 2026-27 budget, staff is requesting board action to confirm and set the sewer services charges and rates effective July 1st, 2026 at the maximum fee of 8%. Next slide. And the proposed action that the Board of Directors approve the following. A, adopt resolution number 2026-06 to set the sewer service user fees for fiscal year 2026-27 effective July 1st, 2026. B, adopt resolution number 2026-07 approving the proposed fiscal year 2026-27 operating and capital budget for the agency. And C, approve, carry forward, and reappropriate any unspent and unencumbered operating and capital project funds from fiscal year 2025-26 into fiscal year 2026-27. Thank you. And that concludes our presentation.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Wanda. Director Moore.
Could you go back to slide 4 for a moment, please? Just so for the education of the public, the $10.4 million of non-restricted revenue, what is the actual source of that?
It's a mix of sources. We have the capacity fees. We have fees from like liquid waste haulers. So it's a different number of fees, not the residential fees are not included in there.
And there, it's also the penalties or liens or things
Yes.
that come from that.
So we just passed liens, so you probably have a good idea of what the penalty revenue might be based on lien income going forward,
Based on previous year.
based on previous years. You probably pretty well know what the waste hauling is likely to be from previous years. How do you do the capacity charge forecast? That one's tough because that one's based on construction in certain areas.
So, generally speaking, from an industry perspective, the customer service department keeps tabs on what's going on in our service area with the individual cities and districts to understand what construction they're anticipating in the next year, or frankly, probably the next 5 years. Obviously, I've said this before, but your capacity fee crystal ball gets fuzzy the later on it is. So it is truly an estimate. You're right. There's some days, some years where we're significantly low, sometimes a little high. They tend to lean on the conservative side. So we're not trying to realize revenue that may not come in.
Got it. Okay. And could we go to I think it's 6?
Director Morweiler, going to slide 6, we are starting a new capacity fee study right now, and we're hoping to be back at the end of October with a presentation to the board.
Excellent.
And
Thank you
that's
for
with our
that.
consultant, Will Dan.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to keep up with that, particularly with inflation costs going on.
Correct.
So on the revenue side, the transfer of 9.5 from wastewater is sort of a loan to the energy fund. We're putting $12.5 million worth of capital into the ground on the energy fund in order to be able to sell energy, both to produce revenue and to reduce some of our own energy costs. But in terms of the latter, the projects may not all benefit the wastewater fund. Is that correct? In other words, some of
Correct.
what
I
we're-
mean, some power will be used by Pure Water or SVRP potentially, and they would benefit from a reduced rate once the renewable energy projects are complete. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, and what I'm getting at is since the transfer from the wastewater fund predominantly comes from our ratepayers for wastewater treatment, how do we recognize that's essentially a loan to the energy fund, which is going to benefit more broadly than just the wastewater fund? So how are we going forward going to reflect the fact that this loan came only from wastewater, didn't come from either of the recycled funds, but the recycled funds will get some benefits from it. And it seems only fair that somehow that gets that benefit, that they pay for that benefit going forward.
So in a very simplistic way, you're right. Wastewater is loaning money to the energy fund so we can get this thing going. When the energy fund starts realizing revenues from the sale of renewable natural gas, they'll pay back the wastewater fund. So that 9.5 million or whatever it ends up being prior to selling renewable natural gas will get paid back. We did a very similar model with the Pure Water Monterey project where the wastewater fund loaned it and then got it back. So then snapping forward, when we have the linear generators on board or functioning and the renewable natural gas being sold, at that point in time, there's a discussion with the board on the distribution of the revenues to our 3 funds. The reason I say that is the greatest cost saving from an energy perspective is the greatest user, which is the Pure Water Monterey. The sale of renewable energy or of renewable natural gas is going to generate the most revenue based on wastewater byproducts. So we need to go to you ultimately when this happens and go, how do you want to distribute this? We're all going to see decreases in energy costs because we're going to try to control those over the long haul. But how do we distribute the revenue side? But the loan will be paid back.
And of course, we probably can't necessarily answer this question today, but is this going to be a 0%, zero interest loan, or is there going to be some nominal interest on it? And I suspect the reason you can't really answer that today is the board hasn't really made a decision on that. But
Yeah.
that would be something for the board to think about.
So you're absolutely right. I can't answer that today.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Director Church?
Yeah, could we go to slide 10, please? And I just draw attention to this because we put it out publicly and it's probably good to correct. But the revenue by fund doesn't come to 151. I think the wastewater up there is supposed to be 109 million, not 3 million on revenue. If I
Or
understand it right.
wastewater.
Just a rounding error of 106 million.
A little bit.
So that is correct. Is that right? That should be 109.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
That's just the WIFIA number, I think, that got left in there.
It
Yeah.
could be.
It is.
Good catch.
Any more comments or questions?
I'll move approval.
So
Second.
I'd like to repeat this for everybody on Zoom here. So it's adoption of resolution number 2026-06 to set rates for sewer service user fees for fiscal year 2026-2027 effective July 1, 2026, and adoption of resolution number 2026-07 approving the proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 operating and capital budget. So we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
You got to take it out to public.
Oh,
Public,
Yeah.
public comment, yeah.
Okay, I would like to take it out to the public, Chai, for any public comment.
Are there any members of the public on Zoom that'd like to speak? Please raise your Zoom hand now. I don't see any raised hands from Zoom.
Is there anybody in the room that would like to make a public comment? Okay, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving on to item 9B. Consider adoption of resolution number 2026-08, establishing the residential low-use variance program for fiscal year 2026-2027 and adoption of board policy number 001, administering the program.
Good evening, Chair Hibino. One last time, the low use variance program. Over the last year, we did hear from a number of customers. We heard from the board. We heard from the executive officer. We put together this program for your consideration. The program was built for customers with low water use. And the goal of the program is to provide a modest reduction in user fees to customers that use very little water. Next slide. Program overview. The program offers a 15% reduction to customers with consistently low wastewater volumes, focusing on modest relief. And this equates to $8.59 in savings. And this is on a $57.27 bill. And this is the 8% that you approved earlier. So I can say with confidence the number is $8.59. Next slide. Eligibility and application. Eligibility requires annual average daily wastewater uses of 75 gallons or less. And there was a Senate bill that set the standard at 47 gallons per person per household. DWR, Department of Water Resources, the State Water Board, they upheld that. So 47 is the standard. And so when we put the program together, we felt that one person could make it. And if there were two people in the house, with a little effort, they could make it. So that's how we came up with 75 gallons. The applicant must submit a completed application form. We need a year's worth of bills. We are focusing on the winter months, but we need a year's worth of bills to confirm eligibility. And there is a non-refundable $50 requirement. It's good for 5 years. We can't charge zero. We have to charge something for the cost of the service. So we really tried to trim that number down. If you think about it, $8.59 times 12. Someone do the math for me, $100.
About $100.
Thank you. So if we charged 100, that would kind of defeat the purpose. So we really went back, talked to staff and said, that first year, yeah, there'll be a little bit of effort, but the years 2, 3, and 4, not as much of an effort. So next slide, please. Fiscal impacts. Funding comes from non-rate revenue, and that's liens and penalties. And it's very important to note that the funding will not be supported through wastewater service charges. The program is not subject to an annual funding cap, which makes it unique, and eligible customers may participate regardless of the number of approved applicants. They also will be able to apply for both programs, this one and the one you're going to hear after this, the Customer Assistance Program. We have a little over $1 million in the budget, this non-rate revenue. It's $1,049,000 available. Take 859 times 12 months. We're guessing right now. We don't know, but we're thinking about 1,000 applications. That totals $103,000. So you take 100,000 for this program, roughly 275 for the program you're going to hear after that, gets us to about 380,000. That's well below the 1 million. Cost recovery, I mentioned the $50. That's where that comes in. Next slide. And I believe this is the most important slide in tonight's presentation. It's program evaluation, the one-year review. We just don't know how many qualified applicants we're going to get. We didn't set a cap on it. The budget's pretty bulky. I think we have plenty of money, but we get 1,000, that's $100,000. 200,000, it's about 206,000, 300, et cetera. You can do the math tonight. But I'm not concerned so much about the budget. It's just, we just don't know. So what we want to do is provide you with regular updates. We may suggest changes. If something might come along, we say, we need to grow the program or tighten the program up. We just don't know today. But I think in 60, 90 days, we'll have a really good feel of where we're at. And our goal, again, was modest reductions, something that we could do. Next slide, I believe that's it. That concludes the presentation. I know there's a lot to talk about, and I do have my partner here, Lindsay, seems to be from customer service. She's also my historian, so make sure we're accurately answering your questions.
Okay, we'll move on to Director Church.
On the $1 million that we have available, if we hit that mark or start approach to it, then do we just cut it off at that point, or does it come back to the board?
We will come back long before that.
Okay.
I mean, I think the first 30, 60 days, we're going to have a real feel, but if something like that does happen, we will be back very quickly.
Okay, I want to make sure we're going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And you said the Senate bill said there's 47 gallons is what's considered average for a person. So 2 people will be 94.
Correct.
And if they cut down to 75,
yeah,
then they would be eligible. So from 94 to 75 is a 20% cut in water, but we only give 15% reduction in fee.
Right. It's going to take a little effort.
Why is that?
So the way we came up with it is a lot of what we're hearing out in the public is the one person in a house. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to how can we apply this using that Senate bill of 47 gallons per day, per capita per day, across our service area. And most of them were the one person, some were the couples. You're absolutely right. And we just felt it was equitable to try to conserve and primarily address those one person.
So that brings it back then to another question. If it goes from one person uses 47 and we're figuring 75 is the cutoff. If you go, one person is only going to use 47, and that means they're not using 28, which is about 40% just roughly into there, but we're only doing a 15%. So I'm trying to, so I guess my big point I'm getting here is that we're asking people to cut back more on water than they're actually saving on their bill. And so why are we doing that? And why did we come to 15% and not 20 or 25?
So
higher.
Great question. And let me try to explain that there is a decoupling, if you will, between the amount of gallons someone uses for consumption each day versus the cost of wastewater infrastructure. You can point to various studies at American Society of Civil Engineers, American Water Works Association, and so on, that whether anyone puts a drop of wastewater down the drain or not, about 85% of our costs are fixed. Some studies show up to 90%, others a little lower. That 85% is because we still have to pay debt service whether anyone gives us anything or not. And we need to be there in case everyone does it at the same time. So they are never going to correlate, but we're just trying to have an acknowledgement based on water usage assembly bills versus the reality of utility management in the wastewater arena, if that makes sense.
Thanks.
I think I understood all of that, and that makes a lot of sense, but I still feel it's a big gap there where we're not meeting those older adults where they say they're at. And then to ask two people to, some of the water is, a pot of what is it? For food, right? You cook it for one, you don't necessarily use a little bit more water for your significant other.
Yeah.
Right. But I still thought there was a lot of room there that possibly to take some of that pressure off. And I just see, it seems like you guys are leaving a lot on the table. And then the comment about just to use a little effort, that's a lot of effort to ask two people to figure out how to get from, was it 94 down to 75? That's a lot of effort, right?
Yeah.
And so, if there's more in the pot that you guys have, I just say take a look at that, because again, when we say a little effort, what are those 2021 extra gallons? What was someone doing with that? Is that another bath? Is that wash your face, or is that cooking some food?
Dishes, everything.
Dishes. But I just asked to take a look at it.
And we absolutely will. And that will sort of that 1 year check-in, because this was put together pretty quick based on what we were hearing out in the public. This hasn't been in the works for a year and a half trying to figure out exactly. So we're trying to do the best that we think we can without leveraging the agency too much. But we can always fine tune it, like you just said.
Right. I'm not going to speak for no one else, but no one's asking to leverage the agency too much.
Yeah.
And so are you saying the adjustments could still be made over the 5-year period?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to come back in a year
1 year.
and say, this is what we have. This is what we're seeing.
Yeah. No, I just said it because the person gives the $50
Yeah.
and they don't know that it's a possibility that it gets better.
Yeah.
A little better.
Just had a question about start time. Is this going to be effective July 1? And somebody can go back and use their water usage from last winter and apply?
That's correct. Yes, yes. And I failed to talk about outreach.
But can we
I
start?
want to apologize for that. But yes, Director Stefani, we will go back 12 months, look at those 12 months. And then on outreach, we will be working with Rachel Godoyan and her team. We're looking at the monthly bills, potentially a postcard. And certainly when anyone calls in, our customer service staff will talk to them, educate them on the program. So thank you.
Any other questions, directors? Move approval. We have second motion and a second. Okay, can we go out to the public, Chai?
Are there any members in the public on Zoom? Please raise your hand if you'd like to speak. We will now hear from Susan Scavone. Go ahead, Ms. Scavone.
Hi. I don't think you're going to get too many people applying for this if they're paying $50 fee to save $100 in a year. I'm assuming that means they can continue the program, but it just doesn't sound like a real winner in terms of what is being offered to people and the scrimping they have to do to possibly qualify. And anyway, good effort, but I hope you'll look at it a little closer. Thanks.
We will now hear from Ing Domer. Go ahead, Ing.
Hello, it's Inga. I'm a Norwegian.
this is the first time I've really heard of this program. And it's sort of like I don't apply for food stamps. I don't apply for Medi-Cal. It's all these other things that I figure I can feed myself, and I'm a chef. I cook well. However, this one is like you want a prize, let's pay money for it. And I just looked at my last bill when I was hearing you, and it's okay. I used 47 gallons per day, supposedly. Yeah, I don't use a whole lot of water, do I? But you know what? I think this needs to be rethunk a whole lot before it's presented, because this isn't looking like any kind of good program here. Um, Try again. Thank you.
We will now hear from Diane Wynant. Go ahead. Diane, you are muted. Diane, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. I'm glad that at the last minute I had the opportunity to speak. I wanted to send an email. That's the way I do most things, but we weren't allowed to send emails, so I missed the opportunity to write in. I have a second home and a home that is rented. We've had these so many years to try to keep them for our children so they would have something. And these costs are, well, I'm ill when I see the bill, because we pay for the tenant in case the tenant defaults. That's the way it's always been. So we know that it's paid. And what I'm wondering is, in this really nice civil meeting, everyone is so civil, the report is so neat and everything. I don't see anything about the cost of human beings. I understand that you need to do work on this infrastructure. I do. But I couldn't in good conscience work for an organization like this that serves the community and bring home 200,000 or 300,000 or 100,000 and say, yes, I'm sorry, we can give you $8 a month off. I mean, give me a break. I know that they're trying to do something, but we know how it is. And I began paying this in, since 89. I don't know when your program started, but paying this stuff. I don't know how much money that has amounted to be. It started at like $17 each bill, and then $22, and now it's $177 because I'm in PG and they've sneaked in the sewer bill. So I would really like to have talked, and I know we don't like to talk about money, but I really would have liked to talk more about people who are serving, and maybe say, this year I don't need a raise. I've already got a boat. I've got the college fund. Instead of just capitalizing on the public, on these poor people who will take $8 a month just to save something. I'm not going to do that. It's an insult to me, and I don't want to pay $50 to do it. So I appreciate the effort, but I think you need to be fair to the public and say, this is not reasonable to raise, to plan this in 8% a year when we don't know what the future holds, if we're going to have another recession, or if our health holds up for old people. Will we be able to pay it? And the other thing is on PG is, where are the records of when these sewers have been replaced and how much? Thank you.
Are there any other members that would like to speak on Zoom? Please raise your Zoom hand. I don't see any others.
Great. I'd like to bring it back to the board. Any more comments from the board?
Public comments in the room.
Oh, is there any public comments in the room?
Eileen, is it possible to get a name and number of somebody that we can submit comments later on? Because it's a little bit fast to come up with something all at once. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else in the room would like to speak? Okay. Back to the board.
Motion is, we already had a motion, Chair, I believe.
No other discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. 9C, receive update on the fiscal year 2025-2026 residential low-income customer assistance program and consider adoption of policy number 002, administering the program, and resolution number 2026-09, approving the program for fiscal year 2026-2027. With that,
Thank you, Chair Habino, and welcome board members. My name is Michelle Baumgardner, and I am presenting the item for the approval to continue the Monterey One Water Residential Low Income Customer Assistance Program for fiscal year 26-27. And since 2021, this program has helped eligible households manage their wastewater bill. And tonight, I'll briefly run you through the 25-26 results from that program and present staff's proposed changes for the next fiscal year. As you can see, the program opened in April of 2025, and we exhausted funding by May. Staff processed 1,061 applications and approved 925 households for assistance. For each approved customer, the Monterey One water service fee was waived for a 4-month period. Next slide. Staff reviewed participation trends, eligibility pathways, and outreach results. And starting on the right side of this slide, you can see direct mail continues to be the most effective outreach tool, and approximately 90% of approved applicants qualified through PG&E's CARE or FARA programs, which appears to be the simplest and most accessible eligibility path. About 61% of approved applications came from Salinas customers, which reflects the size of our customer base in Salinas. These results, along with the direct customer feedback, helped shape the proposed changes I will discuss in the next slides. Staff recommends keeping the income limits the same, but expanding the list of acceptable eligibility verification methods. Under the proposed changes, customers could use CalFresh, WIC, and SSI as proof of eligibility in addition to the current PG&E, CARES, and FARA programs. Also, allowing those who do not file a tax return, like seniors and fixed income households, to submit an SSA 1099 or 1099-R form in place of a federal tax return could also reduce barriers to eligibility. The proposed income limits for fiscal year 26-27 are shown on this slide and continue to be based on the state's household income levels for Monterey County, specifically households at 75% of low income levels. And this creates an income limit between the low and very low income levels. Staff recommends increasing the program budget from $200,000 to $275,000 for fiscal year 26-27. With the proposed budget, approximately 1,200 households could receive assistance. The program will continue to be funded entirely through non-rate revenues, primarily lien and user penalty fees. Again, no wastewater user charges are used to support the program. The proposed budget reflects current demand, expected participation, and the need to maintain the existing 4-month customer benefit while improving access for qualified household. Tonight, staff recommends that we receive the update on the fiscal year 25-26 residential low-income customer assistance program, adopt policy number 002, administering the program, and adopt resolution number 2026-09, approving the program for fiscal year 26-27. Happy to take any questions.
Director Church.
Kind of hate to be the budget monitor on tonight, but I was looking here at the staff report on the fiscal impact, and I just want to make sure the number's right because it refers to that the M1W estimates $1,049,000 for this, but that's actually the previous item. It should have been 275. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So we need to change that fiscal impact.
Thanks.
Thank you, Director Church. Director Moore, did you?
Be happy to make a motion. I do have a question. So the number that's being proposed is 275,000. And we looked at last year and it opened in April and closed in May.
Correct.
April, closed in May, 275,000.
Yeah.
It's not much of a program.
Yeah, so what we did is we accounted for the 925 approved applications received this year, and then we had 48 eligible applicants who could not be funded because the funds were exhausted. And there were about 136 incomplete applications that may have qualified with additional information. So combined with the continued public outreach and expanded pathways, that's how we got to that number, thinking that we would hit the 1,200.
Well, I don't think it's a matter of hitting our budget. I think it's a matter of meeting need. So I understand it wouldn't necessarily stay open for 12 months, but I mean, cutting off after a month, well, Salinas has a rental assistance, so coordination is a good thing. And if there are other rental assistance cities, at some point, perhaps there should be some talking where if we haven't used ours, where we pick up where we left off, but I don't think we should be waiting a full year. And second of all, that just seems to me for an agency this size and customer service, and we know this isn't just a few seniors on fixed incomes. We all know this is a much broader problem. 275 to me just seems to me to be an inadequate number.
So I also understand his point. Your point being open for 2 months and closing really fast versus being open longer.
I understand when the bill hits, in theory, people are going to react quickly. So I'm not saying it should be open, but that seems to me to be too tight.
And then the total amount also.
The deadline's the deadline. The issue is not tight. The issue is 275 we cut off. And I just think it's a bigger problem for that, even for an agency this, knowing we have to be mindful, but it needs to be bigger. And I know Salinas is participating as well, but that just seems to me to be an inadequate number, because the senior fixed income thing, I remember when we passed the sewage bill, and I went to my wife and said, you had a 10-year sweetheart deal and we forgot to put in the escalator. Can't you say thank you for the deal? And she said, no. For us, it's an inconvenience, or it makes her mad. That's a completely different conversation that every single mayor knows that we've got a fixed income, that just any movement of a buck or two. There's a serious concern, and I think we need to be thinking about a bigger number, and perhaps the deadline for the cutoff, it wasn't imposed because we just said, well, you only have a month. It's just the money was out. So the issue is the money. And I just think it should be a bigger number.
So the increase to 275 was based on the demands that we saw last year. So, but what we could do, if you're open for it, is do it as designed, because we have the resolution, everything together, but then come back as we approach 75% of that amount, let's say, for a mid-year
trigger for an adjustment option.
Yeah, a mid-year adjustment if need be.
This fixed income thing, it's really serious.
Yeah,
and I think,
and that's something we heard.
We have to be sensitive to that. As I really think we owe that to the communities we serve.
So, if the board is comfortable with that as a friendly amendment, certainly the budget is balanced with this amount in there. We have the resolution done. If you're open to saying we would come back in some period of time with an update.
Whatever is the right trigger
Yeah.
to make sure that this board and this body are fully aware, wants to reserve, because the thing about, I mean, I understand the budget's ballot.
Yeah.
But I also understand fund carryovers and this and that, and we all know it's not an exact science.
Never.
And frankly, if it's budgeted properly, it ought to be a little conservative, and there should be a little walking around money in there. And this is where it should be spent, in my opinion.
Okay.
So however, I mean, yeah, I want to be collegial about it, of course, but I think this board, all of us, I think, would want to send a strong signal that we are particularly sensitive to that issue.
Okay, moving on to Director Carbone.
Yes, just for clarification on slide 3 or page 3, there was I seen a number 58% were the applicants under age 65. So are there more younger folks taking advantage of the program? Is that correct?
Yeah. So yes, under 65 was, what was that, 58%? Over 65 was 42%.
Over 65.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Director Church.
I like the fact that under 65 is young.
Yeah, I
That makes me feel better.
That. Yeah, yeah.
I kind of want to follow up on Mayor Donahue's comments, because I think it's I think it's right. We had 48 people who applied last year that didn't get it, and I understand the process. There's a 2-month period in here, and we don't have board meetings that often. So what's going to happen? We're going to get applications, and we probably have a board meeting at it's April and May, right? Is that right? Are those the times that people can
Yes.
apply? What were the dates?
Well, in 2025 that happened.
Yes, that was in 2025.
So for next year, it'd be the same, right?
No, we are going to do the mailers.
Yeah, we'll open in the coming month
July.
or so. We need to do a timeline.
Okay, well, maybe I'm missing something. What's the timeline people have to?
Yeah. It's probably going to be looking like August or September.
Okay, so you still got 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is we have this 275. You were suggesting that we do something when it comes to 75%, but we're not going to be able to meet here until end of September. And then the funds would be, the decisions would be made, would be October at the earliest before we would be able to meet. Am I understanding the process on this? How it would go? I guess go ahead.
I just think if it opens in, let's hypothetically August, and we start seeing an oversubscription of it, we would take it to the August board meeting. If we wait until September because we're not oversubscribed, then we would take it to the September board meeting. We will still accept the applications, and then we can come back to the board in August or September and go, it is, there's a huge need. We just need to want to bump this up to 400,000 or whatever it is. I think that allows us the flexibility.
Okay, I guess, I'm happy as long as we're going through on this. I don't want to see us turn anybody down. That's like the key. I want, last we turned 48 people down. It should really that would have been a good idea for us to have come to the board and probably have said, hey, we just topped this program out. Right. What does the board want to do?
Yes.
And I want to avoid people applying and not getting accepted because the fund ran out. However we decide you can do it, however it can be worked in, that would be fine. But that's what I'm going to ask out, if we either direction or add as an amendment in this or however you want to do it.
I think the way they've structured the program and have the resolution written, we can move forward with it with just an acknowledgement we will come back in August and or September.
Okay, but I want to make sure that we're not going to
turn people away because if it's open for that period of time, we will come while the program is still open.
Right. Well,
and we're not turning anyone away.
Yeah. Well, even if the program, it's expired and somebody's applied and the money's been used, I just want to make sure we come back.
Yeah.
We don't turn anybody down without.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
And I think it was more than 48. I want to appreciate the 124 that you guys included in this new one. And what was the reason why? It was just something wrong with their application, right?
Oh, yeah.
Correct. The 132 that did not qualify, and there were a list of reasons why. The correct documentation wasn't supplied. They actually,
No, I understand, but I
Okay.
appreciate you guys allowing for that number. That tells me you're reaching out.
yeah.
And I appreciate. Only thing I really want to say, add to that is, whenever you did it before, cost of living was not where it is now. So, you know, it's a little difference where, the amount of people that applied, it's a little bit tougher nowadays. I just throw that out there and I appreciate what the board is considering.
Let's-
Couple.
Yeah, so with that, these funds that, this is to Paul, the funds that we're using for this, these are funds that are coming from where and how much funds do we have? I know that they're from a certain pot of money.
Yeah, so we cannot use rate revenue. We can use non-rate revenue. So as I think Johanna was talking about earlier, some of that are penalties that we receive. Others are other fees we get, capacity fees when someone's building new construction, hauling fees when the hauling trucks come to the treatment plant and pay to dump a truck, et cetera. In total, if I'm not mistaken, there was about $1 million in non-rate revenue that we have. Now, it's not just sitting there. We do use that within the financial plan to pay for capital projects and everything else that goes along with it. We just know that we can access that for programs like this, both the low use variants and the customer assistance program.
Thank you. And with that, if you are seeing more need, will you be able to come back to the budget committee where we look at it before it comes to the board if we have to increase?
Yes. And what we would probably do is come back to the board and hypothetically, if there's a higher demand and we need, I'm going to just round numbers, another $100,000 or $200,000, we would show an equivalent offset somewhere else in the budget to make sure that we're still balancing
Okay,
going
thank
on.
you. Thank you.
Director Moore.
And just one cost about non-rate revenue. I certainly support the use of penalties and hauling fees and so forth for this. I would not support the use of capacity fees for this purpose because capacity fees are for a specific need of the agency to improve infrastructure because of the additional load of the new folks coming online. So just wanted to put that on the floor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have a quick question. So what does it look like on the customer's bill in terms of it's a two billing cycles, correct? Is it discounted over a 12-month period each month, or is it just a no bill for 2 months? I mean, two
No
billing
bill.
cycles.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, for 2 billing cycles, which is 4 months, but this is applied to the Monterey One Water wastewater fees. So if your city is still billing, you'll still receive a bill for your city's portion of the wastewater treatment.
Gotcha.
But essentially, yes, if your city does not bill on our wastewater bill, you would not receive a bill. It would be zero.
Great.
I'll move adoption of policy 02 and resolution 2026-09.
Second, and I'll suggest the third prong to the motion, another prong to the motion to direct staff to come back. When, Mr. Shudo?
Let's just say August, so it's time certain.
Okay. August.
I'll incorporate that in my motion.
Second again. Thank you.
Did we do public comments on this? Okay.
Oh.
Okay. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, moving on to item 10, consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of routine items for which board approval can be taken with a single motion and a vote.
Move approval consent.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Public comment.
Oh. Chai, do we have any public comment?
Public on Zoom that'd like to speak on this item, please raise your Zoom hand now. I don't see any raised hands from Zoom, and there are no members of the public in the audience.
Okay, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 11, staff reports.
Based on the length of this meeting, that I have no staff reports.
Matt?
Okay, I think that's consistent there.
Board member comments or reports?
Ditto.
Item 13, public comments on closed session item. Anyone wishing to address the board on matters appearing on closed session may do so at this time. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Chai, do we have any in
I
the public?
don't see any raised hands on Zoom.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to closed session.
Josh, you want to say that?
Yep. Chair, just reporting out of closed session. There's no reportable action. Thank you.
We can close the meeting if you'd like, Chair.
Great. With that, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.